it'll show you.
Drinking with authors may contain adult content. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Drinking with Authors. I'm your host, author Nick Savage, and this episode, as all, are brought to you by Four Horsemen Publications. That's the number 4. That's horsemen, multiple men, and publications. Go to their website at the number 4, horsemenpublications.com, and check out a bunch of good authors, including myself. But if you want to hear about an author who's not with them, and he is joining us tonight, I want to welcome, and I'm going to mispronounce his name because he only taught me how to say it once, and I already forgot, Rafael Torrubia.
Perfect.
And he's nodding his head like I said that right. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Nice to be here.
What are you drinking today? Because I know we're both drinking something similar.
Today I'm drinking a Scotch Whisky Old Fashioned, or something as close as I've been able to approximate.
And what kind of Scotch are you using in that?
A smoky one. It's a Laphroaig today, which I'm not sure is recommended for an old fashioned, but it's working for me.
Well, actually, it became a hot viral moment thing where they were smoking old fashions, like literally with like smoke, and they put them in a box, and they were doing it in restaurants until the restaurants realized that the smoke attracted roaches in mass amounts.
I mean, I haven't seen any roaches yet.
No, like literally the smoke of it would in the box would attract it, not just the smoky Scotch. It was a whole thing. It was bad for restaurants.
We can kind of pretend I'm faintly on trend. That's nice. I like that.
Yeah. My favorite Scotch is actually one called Auchentoshan, and I'm probably pronouncing that wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I hear, from what I hear in Scotland, it is a not all that great Scotch. It's kind of just a run of the mill Scotch.
Yeah, it's like a working Scotch, is how I would think of it.
It's like an $80 to $100 bottle of Scotch here.
This is why you need to make friends with more Scotch people.
And for anyone wondering what's in my glass, because I've not been drinking a lot lately, I'm actually drinking Quarter Horse. It is a straight. There we go. It is a straight Kentucky bourbon. For anyone who's watching, that was my attempt to get my green screen to show the damn bottle.
It's great. You were like a beauty blogger there for a second.
Yeah, I'm just fake. I'm all AI. I'm not real. I'm just kidding. Don't use it. But you are the author of, and because you're the author of the Shipwright and the Shroudweaver, which is getting great reviews. I was actually looking them up, and it is being labeled as gritty and haunting and almost gothic in its feel, and all these words that I want people to describe my work with. So tell us about your work and how you did it and what it's about. Just give us the whole fucking 9 yards on it, man.
Sure. So I mean, the very kind of capsule kickoff is the book follows 2 veterans of an old war, the Shipwright and the Shroudweaver. And they have kind of fought their big fantasy revolution. They've overthrown a terrifying empire that was kind of on the edges of a glacier, and they think they're going to get some peace and quiet, and the grass is going to grow under their feet a bit, And then there's a terrible catastrophe that destroys the southern half of the world, and in that catastrophe, all the gods are killed, and as a result of that, everyone in the world loses their names, so they're only known by what they do, which is why I end up with a shipwright, because she builds magical boats, and a shroudweaver, because he weaves magic from people's souls. He burns it and consumes it to kind of fuel his sorcery. So basically, I have a fairly old couple that love each other, that have been through some absolutely terrible shit, and they're kind of dragged back into it again because they are the only people with kind of the skills and the competence and the connection to hopefully try and salvage something from what is left of the world. And so they go on this kind of mad race back to the north, back to this haunted mountain that they thought they'd escaped from, to try and find a solution. And on the way, they run into kind of all their old friends and enemies and comrades and exes, and put together a sort of ragtag band to try and right the situation. But it is, of course, not quite as simple as all that.
Never is as simple, and if it is, you're not writing properly. So you know what I'm saying. it is very epic from again what the reviews are saying, and from the way you're making it sound, it does not sound like a very small story. Oh, that is not a small story. You can't see that. That is a volume to rival Lord of the Rings.
That is a cool 250,000 words.
And okay, here's the thing. In the United States, publishers don't want books, single books, especially even if they're epic. They want them to be about, even epic stuff, they're looking 125,000 words at the most. You know what I'm saying? Like they're just not. A cool 250,000 is 250,000 words for anyone who's bad at math. And anyone who doesn't understand metric, that's a lot of words. That was a joke because he's from Scotland, in case anyone didn't pick up on the accent. He is joining us from overseas, which isn't that far ahead of us. 5 hours makes me happy. But here's my question for you. Did your publisher fight you on this?
The exact opposite, actually. So when I submitted this originally, I think it was a stealth sort of 90,000. It was a, fairly kind of tight. And I had this idea of, if I want to write something that is kind of like beautiful and poetic and gothic and like quick in and out, and I submitted it to my agent initially. And he read it and he said the words that everybody wants to hear, which is, I almost signed you up straight away, but and then he said, would you mind writing me another 50,000? So because I was like young and optimistic and an idiot, I said, yeah, sure, like I'll go away and write another 50,000 on spec. Bumped it up to just under like 140, sent it back. He said, I like it, it's great, we'll work on it a bit more together and then we'll put it out on sub. And it went out to a few different publishers, and it landed with Gollancz, who were kind of my dream publisher. And I
Doesn't everyone get their dream publisher on the first go?
I honestly, the speed with which my jaw hit the floor when I got that phone call was, I mean, it's the sort of thing you imagine when you're like knee high, you're like, maybe one day, and then it actually happens. And my editor, Bethan at Gollancz, is also Scottish, and so was dead keen to get some kind of Scottish fantasy into the mix. And then they said to me, we want to give you the space to make it really epic. We want you to kind of let the story breathe and let the characters breathe. And we feel like there's a space for like a proper sort of sprawling, deep, epic fantasy. And they said, could you just do us another sort of 80,000 or so? So I got off the call and I sort of screamed silently for a while and then just knuckled down. And it's actually, I mean, it's a wonderful thing really for someone to say, like, would you like to play in this world in your head for 250,000 words, and we'll support you to do that. And not only that, but then to say we would like a sequel as well. So I guess by the time
that's wonderful.
It will be 500,000, which is terrifying.
So I want you to know, in my 12 books I've written, I think I've done between those 12, like a little more than, or about 500,000. You know what I'm saying? Like I write shorter novels, they're technically novels, but they're like 50,000 words for one series, 52, 55. The other series is like 90,000, 95,000 words. So if you add all those together, that's 450, that's 550,000 words for 12 novels. You're doing that in 2.
So what I'm hearing is you're a lot smarter than me.
No, I'm a lot lazier. There is, but there's something appealing though about, and I also don't write the epic fantasy. And epic fantasy is very different from, you know what I'm saying, what a lot of people write, because people are like, fantasy's fantasy and sci-fi is sci-fi. And it's like, no. What I write is very modern sci-fi. It's hard sci-fi, but it's very like John Hughesian, if you know your American cinema. It's very observant of the teenage life. Whereas you're writing stuff in a fantasy world, because I'm assuming you're not just writing the Highland Mountains, you're writing fantasy worlds.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, which means you need to explore that for the audience. You need to explain it, and not explain it, but show it. You know what I'm saying? And paint the picture of what this world's like.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the world has to feel real as you're moving through it with the characters, right? You have to be climbing those mountains, you have to be standing on that coast looking out to that sea, you know. And I know, I mean, you said I'm not writing the Highlands, but I think a lot of that comes back in, right? A lot, you can't live in a place and not have it inflect the world that you're building, you know.
But you take the real way of writing, and I say this as a jab at myself, because you're creating this world inspired by the world around you, because you're Scottish, and you're writing that. And I'm going to say that many times because I'm so excited. I'm so excited. For anyone listening who doesn't understand why I'm excited, Scotland and Ireland are on my bucket list, and I actually am studying those languages so to be talking with someone from Scotland, because I no longer work in the restaurant industry, so my world is very much just people around me. Very excited stuff. But I write like a fictionalized Chicagoland. You know what I'm saying? A fictionalized Orlando. It's still that area, but it takes 20 minutes in book time to what should take an hour in real life type stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
But you're creating this other world that you have to paint for the, you know, and explore and do. And then you have your magic, you know, your gods and everything like that. And the way that they weave the shrouds and, you know, the books and everything like that.
Yeah.
And you have to explain that and show that and paint those pictures.
Yeah.
How do you do that? How can you go through your process? Not even so much as an author, well, yeah, as an author, but tell us in a way that makes us think you're not crazy, and how you do that.
I'll give it a shot. I mean, I think one of the things that I really wanted to do with this is like give the reader a world that feels properly strange, right? That you feel that it's not necessarily completely alien to you, but that feels sort of wondrous and difficult to predict and difficult to anticipate. But then as you spend time in it, you start to learn, you know, the rules and the way it all works. So for me, like the way I work is I start with an image. Like I have an image of something that I feel like really encapsulates part of the world, whether that's the shipwright's ships, you know, sailing out from port, whether that's the Shroudweaver kind of in a grove of birch trees, like learning his trade. And then I build out from that, because I think for me, because I was, I guess, a poet in a way before I was an author, you tend to start with an image and then think about what does that image say about the world, or what feeling does that give you as a reader when it hits you. And then everything else is in service to that, right? The way the characters work and talk to each other helps to establish how they feel about what they're doing, what's around them. And then as I move the characters through the world, you know, it's that thing of you're driving the car and you see as far as the headlights, right? You know, the world unrolls itself in front of the characters. And often I know where I need them to get, you know, at the end of the novel or for major beats. But where they go in between, I sometimes feel is not up to me, because I feel like I know them as people and I know the world they're passing through, but I don't know how those two things interact until I write it. And that's the really fun bit for me. And I wanted to kind of have characters that felt like, it sounds so cliche to say, you know, you want characters that feel real, you want characters that feel grounded. And I guess when I was coming up and I was reading fantasy, it was kind of in that very grim, dark era that was kind of like your Joe Abercrombies and your J.R.R. Martins and all this kind of thing. And the characterization in those is wonderful and very deep and interesting. But I wanted to try and do something where I had a set of characters that were making stupid decisions or dramatic decisions or interesting decisions because of how much they love each other and how long they've been together. You know, like I was looking at a lot of these books where characters were dropping like flies, and perhaps some of your viewpoint characters were difficult to love, shall we say? You know, and what I love to do with this book is give you someone that, you know, you root for, you think they're wonderful, and then they do something terrible and they feel completely justified in it. And then you still have to go along with them for the ride, or vice versa. You know, I hate a straight down the line villain. So my villain in this Crow Kisser is a sorcerer who sort of achieves prophecy by eating the bodies of crows. Like they learn their little secrets and they come back to her and she devours them. And she's responsible for the catastrophe that's destroyed half the world. She's killed all the gods. stripped everyone of their names. And by about 2/3 of the way through the book, I want you to be rooting for her, because there is a lot more to what's going on with her and why she's done this. So I think all these things kind of, mesh and interweave. Like I want very beautiful, clear images of the world. I want the world the characters are moving through to feel real. And then I want the characters that are in that to feel like people that you half know, that like you read about them and you think, yeah, I know a guy like that from down the pub, or I had a conversation like that the other day. Because to me, I think epic fantasy only works if you can cut it with normal, believable, grounded, which again is slightly overused, but like grounded characters, like people that feel real,
No. Let me interrupt you for a second, because I feel strongly in what you're saying, but I feel like you're almost dismissing your own writing ability there, because I saw you use quotes when you said real characters when you first started talking about them. But the thing is the readers who invest their time, and because people don't have to read our books. You know what I'm saying? There's 8 billion people, 9 billion people on the planet. There's half as many authors nowadays. You know what I'm saying? So if they invest in our books, they feel our characters are as real as you and me. They really do.
Exactly.
And so to us, yes, they're in our minds. You know what I'm saying? But they are as real to some of us in a sense, not in a sense that we have dinner with them. You know what I'm saying? And we save a place for them at the table. We're not that crazy. We are authors, but we're not that crazy. But they have to be real, because when you're writing them, they're going to do things like you said that make you like them a little less sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't write perfect characters. Perfect characters come across as unrealistic. Same as perfectly evil villains come across as unrealistic. They have to have that spark of humanity to them. So don't sell yourself short on that. I'm not saying that as some like motivational speech, like you know what you're doing. But I'm saying that is like, people need that. People want that. People need that relatability. And if you're able to write relatable characters in a world that is so foreign or alien to us, in the sense that it's obviously not on our planet and it's a new fantasy world, all the more power to you, and all the more confidence you should be having in your writing, because you're sitting here writing a novel that is ridiculously long, and your publisher's reading it going, no, we want more. I don't know. If I were you, I'd have an ego larger than I think anyone would be able to handle. If my publisher came back to me and go, no, I want 50,000 more words in this book, I'd be like, all right, cool. I know. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just such like a mind fuck to me to have someone come back and go, no, we want another 80,000 in here because we love it so much.
It is surreal. I think that's the merit of being brought up Scottish, is that there's a strong strand of self-deprecation in the bone. So even if someone gives you another 50,000 words to play around with, you move cautiously with that. But yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I think all the best books that I've read and am reading are the ones where the characters feel like if I took my eyes off them, they would continue to function. Like they don't need me to work effectively. And when you have a book of this size, you can kind of do that. I have a few chapters where I play around and like I open up in it with a completely different group that we haven't met before. My favorite chapter is a group where it's three folk that have been robbing a tomb, basically, just to kind of make ends meet, because times are hard and you can't be a shepherd because all your sheep have buggered off and the fishing's not good. So you turn to tomb robbing, and the three of them are just hanging out in the pub after sort of hard day's work. And I spend about as much time on them as I do in my normal characters. And then until at the end, when my named characters kind of crash in through the door and ruin everyone's day. But I kind of wanted that feeling where it's like, well, anywhere we look in this world, there are stories we want to follow, right? That there are narratives we want to pick up. There's people we want to spend time with. Because I want that sense that the world is breathing out beyond you. It kind of exists beyond you in that sense. And the more, not even necessarily flawed your characters are, but the more that they have these kind of consistencies and inconsistencies, once you learn how someone works in real life, you can kind of tell how they're going to respond, to different things. And it's the same with your characters, Yeah, it's fun to play around with it.
I think some authors do confuse idiosyncrasies with flawed. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
I love writing flawed characters just because my mind is beyond, fucked up in how I view the world and stuff. But the idiosyncrasies are what makes characters feel real.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you, have those in the characters as well. And you said earlier, and I'd like to touch on this, that you plot out your beats, which is plotting as much as I think anyone can do. But how you get from, one beat to the next, you said you kind of leave up to the characters because they're that, that realistic, that kind of thought out in your mind that you have to. Do you find yourself having to leave it up to the characters because otherwise they're going to make uncharacteristic choices?
I absolutely, because I think I have tried. God, have I tried to be one of these amazing authors that has everything mapped out front to back, in a beautiful Word document or Scrivener document or whatever. I learned long ago that my brain does not work like that. So the very best I can do is I can know where we start, and I can know, a few of the stops along the way, and sometimes I know the end. I thought I knew the end of this book until I wrote it, and then it has a second, much harsher ending that comes after the first. No,
sorry. That is wonderful that you said that, because I think if you have an ending in mind as an author, and then your characters are doing what they do within, the realm of their characters and within the realm of the story, and you end up at a different ending, it makes the story all the more authentic feeling instead of forcing them to go to the ending you were hoping for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it was partially a little bit of sentimentality on my part, because you put them through quite a lot over this huge book, and I thought, well, they they deserve a little piece, and then I thought, well, that's boring, isn't it? That's so something much worse happens. But again, it happens because of things that other characters want, and that's what the interesting thing is for me. Like when I'm saying I'm leaving it up to the characters, I don't mean like I have no clue, but like I know what one side of the game wants, and I know what the other side of the game wants, and if I think about what they're both trying to achieve while we're moving towards the end of the story, then everything kind of colors itself in. If you think who's in opposition to each other and where are the strings being pulled and who jumps when the strings are pulled, it's sort of it makes things work out that way.
No, wonderful. Now, you said you have a sequel in the works, and it's going to be another 250,000 monster.
Yeah, or slightly larger was what my editor said. So.
Or as your editor saying, no, we need more.
I think she just likes me to suffer. She messaged me, I think it was either on publication day for book one or a couple of days after, and said, like, congratulations. We'd really like the next one to be as big or bigger. It keeps me on my toes. It keeps me off the streets. It makes sure I have no social life. But it's I think we're about, I want to say we're about 60 or 70K into the 250. So we're getting there. There's hope.
Getting there. Oh my God. So I have a question. Since you use beats to map out your book, do you use the website Save the Cat for the beat mapper or no?
I'm not even aware of the website.
Okay, it's something that I didn't start using it till like I think this last book or two. But it's basically like, the one thing I don't like about it is instead of using word count, it uses page count, which of course page count can differ based on the trim size of the book and everything like that.
Sure.
But if you take the trim size of the book that's published and it's 250,000 words, you enter in that many pages and it'll tell you on what pages about these beats should be happening and how long each of the beats should last and stuff like that. So it's really cool to help your pacing.
That's sort of impressive and sort of terrifying to me.
It is very terrifying
reaction to that, which was like, I don't know. I don't want anybody to tell me what to do. But it does sound useful.
Yeah. Much like the parlay in Pirates of the Caribbean, they're more guidelines than they are, rules. But it's kind of fun, and I did it for me just to see where my earlier books landed, and you know what I'm saying, everything. And it's something. I don't work for them. I don't know them. It's just something I found. So I thought maybe because you have your beats, you may have mapped them out through there. But apparently, I'm the only one I know that knows that site besides me and one other friend. Yeah.
I'll take
But
it for a spin at the very least.
trust me, it's scary because you're
Mhm.
like, oh my God, it doesn't gauge you as a writer or anything like that. But when we were backstage before we started the show, you actually said something I wanted to touch on.
Sure.
My segues are fucking horrific.
No, that was flawless. Sorry.
Like, there are hosts who can segue like a pro and you don't even realize it. And then there's me who's just hard stop. I have a question I want to ask.
Just a screeching handbrake turn is fine by me. It's all
Yeah,
good.
it's wonderful stuff. You said, and I love your title. I love your title. It's very intriguing. It makes me curious. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But you said you had to fight tooth and nail for it.
I did. Yeah. There were a few reasons for that. One of them was that there was a worry that it wasn't an immediate enough hook, that it was kind of, it left a bit too much open, that it was kind of too verbose in some sense. To which I kind of gently said, I was like, well, you know, if the audience can handle, I don't know, the Priory of the Orange Tree, then they can handle the Shipwright and the Shroudweaver. Like we're not asking too much of people here. And one of the alternate titles that I got proposed was, we could just call it The Last Ship. And I was like, great. And then I had to point out that there are 2 other ships in the book, which kind of, you know, put a few holes in that one. But
Well,
it's really interesting because this is my first fiction book, so I've never really had this kind of conversation before, like where they're going really in depth, like just on the title that people are going to see on the shelves and like the impact of that. And I think naively, you know, I thought, well, if the story's good, like that's fine. But there's so much thought that goes into just like the phrasing, the arrangement of the title, everything. But for this, I mean, I've had these 2 characters in my head for 7-8 years, and I was like, no, like I need them. They need to be on the front. You know,
here's the other thing to think about: Shipwright, Shroudweaver. Yeah, they're long words, but effectively it's a 2-word title. Because no one counts the article.
Where were you years ago when I was fighting for this?
It's 2 words. No one counts the and the. Those are just filler.
I'm taking notes for when we're typing book 2.
So for your next book, when they're like, it's too long, it's too verbose, just feel like it's got some syllables, but it's 2 words. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Happily book 2 is already, I think, locked in title-wise, so I think we're.
But and the other thing, it's a 250,000 word book. If they can't get past, okay, forget the and the Shipwright, Shroudweaver. If they can't get past 5 syllables in a title, they're not going to make it through 225,000 or 250,000 words.
It's such an interesting one, isn't it? Yeah.
And I understand though, because from the publishing side, the title and the cover have to hook. Because as much as they say don't judge a book by the cover, every reader judges a book by the cover, and that includes the title. But as somebody, now I am, don't take this the wrong way. I am not, epic fantasy is not my first go-to read, mainly because I'm not a quick reader. So like a 90,000 word book can take me anywhere from 3 days to a month and a half, 6 months.
Yeah.
A 250,000 word book.
Reader, so I sympathize.
Yeah, but your title, to me, sounds wonderful. You know what I'm saying? And that's just me as a reader, not from the publishing side, as a reader. And I saw your hold up for anyone on the visuals.
You know, I will take this opportunity because we were saying, don't judge a book by its cover and all that kind of thing. But the artist for the book, Kirby Rosanas, did an absolutely insane job. It's one of the most like intricate, wild pieces of art that I've ever seen.
Can you describe it for the people who are listening only? Describe it for me.
So for those of you on a pure audio medium, we have sort of a full sail, old-timey sailing ship going through a stormy sea, with fragments of gods emerging from the clouds and the water, chased by a flock of crows that is hunting it down, because my villain Crow Kisser is after both the Shipwright and the Shroudweaver. And it's wonderful. It opens up into like a full spreads. It has a slight, I like to think, Gustave Doré, Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner energy about it, you know. And I love it. I love it more than anything. Yeah.
No, it is absolutely beautiful cover, and even the font, the color scheme of the cover is great as well. Your publisher, your cover designer, everyone did such a beautiful job on that book.
Yeah, Rachel Lancaster was the designer at Gollancz. They're incredible. Kirby Rosanna is a mind-blowing artist. He does all kinds of stuff. I think he does like magic cards and everything and all that sort of thing.
Wait, like Magic the Gathering cards?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I just want to meet this guy now just to talk to him. Like Magic the Gathering,
mash you two together somehow via the internet. Absolutely.
Like when Magic the Gathering, I first started playing shortly after Magic the Gathering first came out. I mean, I'm in my mid 40s, so I mid to late. So I definitely at 46 can't say mid for much longer. But I started playing back when Antiquities and Arabian Nights were out. So anyone who knows how old those sets are. But oh my God, the artwork on Magic the Gathering cards were stuff to aspire to.
I know.
Like some of those things were absolutely great. So the fact that he did your cover, I'm jealous.
I've been a very lucky person, and like I think this is the thing is like you realize how much of this is luck. You know, like it's just the right pair of eyes, the right person at the right time. You know, because there's so much good writing out there. There's a terrifying amount of good writing. And I feel quite lucky. Yeah.
No, there's tons of good writing out there. And don't get me wrong, writing is okay. let me say it this way. Yes, there's some objective elements to writing. But to the reader, to the writer, there's objective elements. There's an objective side to writing. But to the reader, it is more subjective than objective. You know what I'm saying? So so as much as you and I might say there's a ton of good writing out there to be read, readers might disagree with that or say there's even more than you think. You know what I'm saying? So being someone who finds an audience makes us feel even luckier than I think may have happened years ago.
Definitely. And there's something so strange about, you know, you have something that lives as a Word document on your computer for I don't know how long, or just in your head, and then it becomes an object in the real world. And other people latch onto it and they engage with it and they care about it, and that to me is absolutely wild. You know, like you were very kind at the beginning, saying it's had some good reviews and stuff, and I've been very lucky with that as well. My absolute favorite review that I've ever received for this was someone who went through and said how they had realized that every single magic system in this world and every single character was just really using a different type of accounting and a different kind of cost loss balancing system. And they wrote a beautiful like 7-8 paragraph review that broke it down like character by character, like this is how they are costing for and accounting and paying for their magic. And it was one of those things where I was like, someone has engaged with this book in a way that I would never, ever have been able to predict. And it was so in-depth and thoughtful. And it like, the old adage, you know, never respond to your reviews, but I thought, you know, I actually need to respond to this one. I was like, thank you for like literally like finding a whole new way to look at a world that I made up in my head. It was wild. Absolutely.
I have made I've broken the old adage of don't respond to reviews. But sometimes you have to. Sometimes you feel like you just have to respond to it.
It's tricky.
It is, but and I'm looking for, and actually I think it was on your website, and that's what I'm looking for, because there was the review was so beautifully worded that I'm like, I need to just read this while we're doing this. While I am trying to find this damn review that I read. Your magic system now. Okay, have you ever played Dungeons and Dragons or anything like that?
Of course, I've played Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay, I know I say that. Growing up, we got picked on growing up for playing Dungeons and Dragons, so I have to ask. Have you ever played Dark Sun, to be more specific?
Dark Sun, I think I did a Dark Sun one shot at one point. It's about as far as I got. Yeah.
Because in Dark Sun they have the Defilers, where the magic of the Defilers like destroys the world around them and stuff like that,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
like kills the plant life and blah blah blah. And I'm not talking like, oh, because they cast fireball, everything's burned. No, like when they use magic, it sucks it, life from. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Can you explain, or will it spoil how your magic system works?
I can touch on some bits of it, I think, without it being too spoilery. So, let's talk about Shipwright and Shroudweaver, because they're kind of our main magic users, I guess. So for Shroudweaver, I have always had a soft spot for a bit of necromancy. Not in my personal life, but
Thanks for the clarification.
And what I really wanted to think about was what is the kind of the most personally costly form of that I can imagine. And I thought, what if in this world there was a college that trained bright young people to move souls from one body to another? So if you want to do a little bit of healing, you can pull some energy out a mouse and put it into a sick person, say, and it makes them feel better. Or maybe if you want a ship to go a little bit faster, and maybe someone's dying anyway, is it so much of a cost to just burn up the last bit of their soul and weave it into the sails to let it go on? And then I thought, imagine if in that world where, these bright young people are trained in a sort of lovely college of woven birch trees, imagine if every single one of them was wiped out and the last person left had all the kind of blocks and restraints removed. And that's the Shroudweaver. He's the last person that understands how to do this. And he feels completely justified in using his magic because he's used it to save the world once and it worked. So surely it'll work a second time, right?
That makes sense.
And every time he works with the souls of the dead, every time he burns the souls of the dead to fuel his magic, he binds them with the red thread on his left hand, and he sends the souls out with his silver thread on his right hand. And as it passes through his body, a little bit of that burnt soul lodges and kind of crusts under his ribs and by his heart. So he's slowly killing himself by degrees as he does this. So on the one hand, I have him, which to me feels like quite almost kind of traditional epic fantasy magic. It has limits, but the limits are what the magic user can kind of push themselves to sustain, right? We're almost at Gandalf burning himself out as Gandalf the Grey and then returning as Gandalf the White kind of thing. And for the Shipwright, she needed something really different because she's not from this land. She's not part of these people. She is only here because she loves the Shroudweaver. And she was on essentially a mercantile trading gig where she stops off in a city. She gets roped into providing a lift for this, at the time, strange pale young man that she falls in love with, and then she's stuck with him for the rest of her life. And the way she works is she builds these intricate mechanical little brass spinning objects, and she attaches them to the sails of her ship, and inside of them each is a little sort of animistic spirit that helps things go faster. It's good. Your ships can sail faster. Maybe your horses can run faster if you attach one to the saddle. Maybe if you're in a fight and you need to throw your punches really sharply, maybe you can use this magic for yourself. But what she is finding as she pushes herself further and further is she's kind of messing with the electricities of her own body, and slowly her nerves and her muscles are starting to burn out in interesting and unpleasant ways. Because everything is the cost, right?
That's a beautiful, beautiful system of magic in a very deadly way, in a very sad way almost. But it also has an allegorical feel of power corrupting. Power corrupts absolutely, power corrupts absolutely, and it's kind of nice. I do want to ask you about something, but before we do it, I want to read this part, not the whole review, just this part of the review, because it's such a great review, and this is from a RR Verdi USA Today best-selling author of The First Binding. Rafael pulls you, and he uses a full name, but I can't roll my R's. Rafael pulls you along a dark, surreal, and hauntingly lovely dream over the high seas in this powerful debut fantasy with prose that's lilting, seductive, and smooth. That is a wonderful snippet right there, and that's just amazing. Yeah. So go look at go people listening, go buy this damn book because it's but I do want to ask you, because you, and I don't know when this is going to air. I do not have control over that. But I'm going to try and get it aired before then so we can have this, be relevant.
Sure.
The Cymera Festival, June 5th through 7th.
Absolutely. Yep.
What's that about? Talk to me
about Cymera Festival is, I would say, Edinburgh and Scotland's premier fantasy and science fiction festival. So for all my beloved nerds anywhere, there are a wonderful range of panels. I am going to be on one, so if you are not tired of hearing from me today, you can in fact come and hear me again. I'm on with two other fantastic authors, Alex Phoebe, who did Mordew, which is a wonderfully kind of sort of gothic and almost sort of body horror-y kind of fantasy that I loved, and the amazing Anna Smith Spark, which is a tricky one to say after whiskey. Anna did A Sword of Golden Ruin, which is another kind of beautiful, very sort of lyrical epic fantasy. And we're on a panel which is very cutely titled From the Ruins, which is about having characters that build something after the disaster and how you write stories that are kind of set after the disaster. So I think it's going to be great fun. You can go to chimerafestival.co.uk. It's spelled funkily, Cymera festival. But it's all up there. And yeah, I would love to see someone there that heard this. So by all means, make that dream come true.
We will do our best on that. Before I ask you to shamelessly self-promote yourself, I'm going to ask you something that is, I'm going to ask you a question I myself would not answer. Do you have a working title for your second novel in this series?
I do. This would be the first place anywhere that it has been aired, so that's fine by me. The sequel to The Shipwright and the Shroudweaver is called The Lock Watcher and the Lightmender, and that's what we're going for.
The Lock Watcher and the Lightbender.
Lightmender, yeah.
Lightmender. Okay. That's just me being unable to hear properly.
Because once again, I've been quite literal, and there is a character who is watching a very important lock. and there is a character.
That just means lake.
What's that?
I was translating that for Americans who don't
know. No. We are not talking lock like Nessie. No. We are talking lock as in put a lock on this so the thing behind it doesn't get out.
Fuck it, I'm having more to drink right now since I just fucked that shit up. So before I have to do a side note real quick. There's an actor, and I don't know who the hell it is, and he was on the Graham Norton show. Okay. But he's a Scottish actor who's from that area of Scotland that even you can't understand. He's like Geordies to English people. And he was saying something about a Canadian actor being born in some province of Canada. And he had to say it like 3 or 4 times before one person was able to understand it. And I just feel like that was my moment because of the word lock. And I am so sorry that I was not able to, that my mind was like, oh, it's a Scottish guy who said lock. You must mean lake. You meant fucking lock like out a door.
Just an actual door, yeah.
You're like, no, it's a fucking door.
But lock is such a satisfying word, though. I mean, it would be good to get that in there. Maybe there's another character that can stick lock onto. Absolutely.
Just name him Nick or something like that, and it'll be great.
No real names. This is it. I thought I was being so clever. I was like, I'll write a book, and there won't be any real character names, and that'll make it much easier.
That's right. No real names. They lost all their names. Yeah. Just inspire him have him be inspired by me and the craziness that is me. He's a little like ADD, ADHD kind of guy who
I do have a prophet who lives inside the mountain who's very ADHD inspired, and I love them dearly. So yeah,
I love it.
We have representation. It's fine. It's good. All my neurospiciness and neurodiversity are firmly represented in the book.
All right, so help us out for everyone listening who needs to buy this and needs to follow you online. Where can we find you? Give me the whole shameless self-promotion shtick.
You can find me at rtorrubia.com. So RTORRUBIA.com. I am on most socials, including Instagram and stuff, as at Rafotron, RAFOTRON. Except Blue Sky, I think, where I'm also on is at rtorrubia.com, because that seemed like a serious business place to do serious business. If you want to buy my books, which I would love it if you did, you can get them from Amazon. Better places to get them from might be, if you're in the UK, Waterstones. If you're in the US, Barnes & Noble would be the place to go. Or you can go direct to my publishers at Gollancz. They have sort of online US and UK web store, and they're very good with things like shipping and all that stuff.
And
yeah.
That is spelled Gollancz, or
that's correct. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Perfect. And also, I'll give a shout out to my lovely audiobook narrator, Leanne Walker. There is an audiobook of the book, which, if you don't fancy building biceps by holding up the hardback, is another sort of lovely way to consume the story.
Now, I know some authors with their audiobooks, especially with epic fantasies. Oh, this bourbon is hitting me. With their epic fantasies, try and do almost a radio show style stuff with like sound effects and music. Are you a straight audiobook, or do you have sound effects and Foley artistry?
We are. I'm not sure I'd describe it as a straight audiobook. It's a beautifully recorded audiobook with one extremely sort of lilting, soothing female Scottish accent reading it, and Leanne does a great job. She really gets the kind of the musicality of the language that I was going for, you know. Yeah, but nice. Sadly, no explosions or sound effects. But maybe for big two, who knows? No.
You don't want to pay for those. That gets really pricey. Before I can't talk anymore, I am going to ask you for. I've had so much fun.
Me too. Absolutely.
One piece of thank you for appeasing my ego. One piece of writing advice you would like to give to aspiring writers who may be looking for unsolicited advice.
Looking for unsolicited advice. I will give you advice, which I guess sort of came to me via a few different people, and it is specifically maybe for people that want to write fantasy, because those are my people, I guess. But the thing I have always found is that you need to think about the characters and the relationships first, right? They need to be real people before you give them powers, before your Shroudweaver weaves shrouds or your Shipwright builds her strange little brass objects. Like, the first thing I did with those two was think, why have these people stuck with each other for so long? Like, when you could have bailed and gone and cut and ran, what is it that kept these two together? If I was going to have my villain, if I was going to have Crowkisser, if she's going to destroy half the world, what is it that pushes her to destroy half the world before she has magic, before she has anything else? And like, the reason she does it is grief. Like, it's a terrible loss that pushes her to this. And so for me, all the best fantasy does that, you know, like authors like Geraldine McCaughrean or Robert Holdstock or any of these kind of people. Like, it's real people, and then the magic gets layered on. The magic is a way of letting the person express themselves to a much wilder degree. So start with the real people and give them magic afterwards would be my advice.
That is wonderful. And I appreciate that a lot, because you take your story writing in certain stages. You know what I'm saying? Where you're writing the characters first, and then you're weaving in the magic and stuff. And that is a wonderful way to try and approach things. If nothing more than an exercise to work on things, you know what I'm saying? At least it's a way to start doing things to work on story, and I think that is wonderful.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm gonna mispronounce it again. Rafael Torrubia. I did it right. Thank you so much for the thumbs up. I know the first name is Rafael. It's the double R that always throws me off, because I can't roll my R's. I am as white as they come, even where I grew up, and studying languages, pronunciation is horrendous for me. So thank you for appeasing me on that and laughing silently to yourself instead of out loud. Thank you so much for joining us. Author, excuse me, Jesus Christ. Author of The Shipwright and the Shroudweaver through I can't even pronounce it. Gollancz? Did I say it right? Gollancz?
Gollancz, yeah.
Gollancz. This is what happens when you drink a lot of quarter horse. This is what we're drinking with authors, folks. Rafael Torrubia, author of The Shipwright and the Shroudweaver. Shipwright and the Shroudweaver. Go pick it up. It's 250,000 words. It'll keep you busy for God knows how long. At that long. For me, a year. For other people, a weekend. I actually know people will be able to get through that in like 3 days. It's insane. It's insane. I love those people who can read that much that fast. I am not that person. Go pick it up. Go follow him in all his socials. We have him in the links in the description somewhere. The producer puts them in places. Go follow him. Go buy his book. Go discover great new writings. Follow Drinking with Authors. I want to thank you for being with us. I've had a blast.
Had a fantastic time, yeah.
And you're going to laugh about this. And I feel like, what the hell did I just do for my last hour? And everyone, just remember, until next time, it costs nothing to be kind. Raph, stick around. Everyone else, be good. Be nice to each other. The world's a hard place. See you next time.
Thank you for listening to Drinking with Authors. Join us next time for another fun conversation with an author over drinks.